When you have this Excel file open, please do a File, Save As. And on page 44 in instruction number 1, it tells you to save this document as Sales RPT. So again, do a File, Save As, go to your account on the left-hand side, and save this as Sales RPT. While you're getting that saved, I want us to read instruction number 2 on page 44. Instruction number 2 on page 44 reads, change the heading Month 3 to the name of the last month. Say, okay, so what month are we in right now? November. So what's the last month there was? So we're going to change the word Month 3 to October. Month 3 gets changed to October. The next part of instruction number 2 says change the heading Month 2 to the name of the previous month. So what comes before October? Can we figure that out? September. And then month 1 would be August. So we should have those words typed in by now. So instead of month 1, 2, and 3, it'll now say August, September, and October. Instruction number 3 on page 44 reads, in the cell below Sales Report, enter the label for the quarter ending, and then include the month and the name that you entered into the replace month 3. So we're going to type in cell A3, capital F for the capital Q quarter, capital E ending, October, sorry, I'm taking the comma out, no comma, for the quarter ending October. And that would go in A3. And that's exactly what is in the directions on page 44 for instruction number 3. So basically what we're looking at for CyberStop Media is our learning target for this activity is we're going to be going through and taking a spreadsheet that somebody has already made. And there's a couple things that we have to do to this. The first thing we have to do is do a formula. And this is an easy formula. We're going to be adding. We like adding, not the complicated if statements. The other thing that we're going to be doing this is we're going to be creating some charts. Okay? So we're going to be going through and creating some bar charts and some column charts. And I'll walk you through how to do that because many of you don't know how to make those charts yet. The other thing we're going to do is what do we think about how this is laid out? Is it very pretty? Kind of boring, kind of yucky. So we're going to do some enhancements to this. So by the end of this job, and we might not get done with this today, and you'll also notice that I'm wearing my headset today because we have some people that are gone for hunting. So I'm recording what I'm doing so they can come back and watch it on YouTube so they don't have to wait and get instructions from me. So we're going to be going through and adding a formula, enhancing the appearance of our spreadsheet, and creating charts. That's what we're going to be learning within Job 14. If we take a look on page 45, because we already did all the instructions on page 4, you know what I didn't do? We did not read the directions on the top. It says, I would like you to improve the appearance of a sales report that I started a few weeks ago. I would also like you to create some charts. I want the first 2 charts to compare the sales of DVDs and games in the last 3 months. And I need a third chart that compares our total sales over the last 3 months. And I'll walk you through creating those charts. So now we're ready for instruction number 4. On page 45, it says, enter the formulas in the total column that calculates the total sales of DVDs and the total sales of games for the 3 months. So what cell would that be in, Brian? Do you have any idea? Brian, do you know where that one will go? 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 I'm sorry, say it again? For instruction number 4, yeah. E6, yes. Sorry, I was just having a hard time here. I got a cold. So basically what they want us to do, and we want it to do columns, and we got to remember that columns go up and down. So in E6, which is right here, we have to put a formula in that is going to add. Now, when we work in spreadsheets, how do we start a formula? Equals. Okay? Equals has to be how we start a formula. So I'm going to go in E6 right now, and I want to put in an equal sign. Now, what do I want to do? Add those 3 numbers for DVDs from August, September, and October. This is what I find is the easiest. I'm going to click on that August number, and notice it types a cell. Instead of me typing B6, for me it's easier to click. Then I'm going to do a plus sign. Possibly, but I did something wrong. And then I'm going to click on September, and then I'm going to click on October. So I'm really just adding those 3 numbers. And then when I'm done with that, I would just hit enter. And you should have a total in there. Would you agree? Now, what do we need to do in E7? Same thing, right? Okay, so I'm going to do equals. Add those 3 numbers. So there, you just went through and mastered instruction number 4. Now, instruction number 5. Justin, where do you think where do those numbers go? B8. So instruction number 5, it says enter the formulas in the total row. And again, rows go across. That calculates the total sales of DVDs and games for each 3 months and calculate the total sales of DVDs and games for the 3-month period. So basically, what does that mean? In B8, I'm going to add up DVDs and games, so I'm going to get a total for the month of August. So I'm going to start with an equal sign, and I would take my DVD number plus my game number. Now, Brian, what am I going to do that's easier instead of typing in my numbers over and over again? Fill handle. Thank you. I'm picking on these 2 because they've had Excel with me before. In the lower right-hand corner, do you see this box right here? That is called your fill handle in Excel. Instead of me going through and typing the formula over and over again, I can put my cursor in the bottom right-hand corner of that cell right here, and it turns into a crosshairs, a black crosshairs, and then I can drag over, and it copies that formula, so I don't have to type it over and over again. So I put it in once, and then I can copy it through. Again, my formula was just the addition of those 2, and then using my fill handle. Instruction number 6. This is where it gets a little bit more up to your personality and what you like. But it says, format the report to improve its appearance. Well, I'm going to tell you the first thing that we should do is this title, CyberStop Media, is in A1. It shouldn't be in A1. It should be centered over the whole report, and it's going to go all the way to E. So I'm going to highlight A1 to E1. So I have A1 to E1 highlighted. And then I have a button right below the word View that says Merge and Center. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Merge and Center, and it's going to take that title and put it all the way across the top. So I have to do row 1 first. Then I would go to row 2 and do the same thing, highlight A to E. I can't highlight rows 1, 2, and 3. I have to do these row by row. And then I would do row 3. What do we think? Does that look a little bit nicer? Okay. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can go through and actually make it look even nicer with the use of colors and the different types of fonts. Because right now we're in Times New Roman. Now, you're not going to want to use a giant font size, but you can go in and choose some different fonts that may appeal to what you like, but make sure it's not something that's super hard to read. Sometimes the script ones are a little bit harder to read. So taking a look, I kind of like Corbel. So I'm actually going to set my whole table to Corbel. You don't have to use that one. You can use whatever font you like. Again, there's not a right or a wrong font, but just make sure that the font can be read. Now, when I did that, my word September doesn't fit in column C anymore, so I have to go through and make my column C a little bit bigger. To make columns bigger, I go between the column that doesn't fit and the next one over, and I just drag between the letters on the top. And that is how I can make my columns a little bit bigger. Now, my favorite color is blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my titles right here, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill this with the blue color. Again, you don't have to use blue. But I find when I have blue fill and black font, the font is kind of hard to read. So I'm going to actually change my font to like a lighter gray, because that makes it a little bit easier to read. The next thing I'm going to take a look at doing is I'm going to go through and set the fill color for my DVD and games to a color that's not quite as bright as my top heading. I'm going to use like a much lighter shade of blue because I used a darker blue on top, just to kind of make them stand out. And then I have these totals right here. So for this total, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line above and below. Actually, I'm going to put a black box all the way around it. I'm going to highlight all of my data here. Not my titles, but highlight all my data. And I'm going to put a border all the way around the outside. To put a border all the way around the outside, if you want to look up here so you can see how to do it, depending on what you have highlighted, you click right here, and then you can choose whatever border you want. And I'm going to do an outside border. And so what it did, it just put a black box around it, and then I'm going to put another one just on the very top of this one. And it just kind of makes that information stand out a little bit. Other things I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to bold these words a little bit. And I think I'm going to change my CyberStop Media font size just a little bit bigger. 18 for those, and then I'll do a subheading here of 16. I think that looks a little bit nicer. Does yours have to look exactly like mine? No, but add some colors, add some borders. It is always good to have your totals stand out a little bit, just because it makes it much easier to read. You could go through and format the totals on the right-hand side with the white too, but I kind of like there. Don't go crazy with a lot of different font colors, because that could make it a little bit harder to read. Let's get this saved. You already did a file save as sales report. Let's go ahead and save this one again. And because I've already saved it, all I have to do is in the upper in my shortcut toolbar, just hit save to make sure that my work is good to go. Thank you. So we just did instruction 6. We made it pretty. Instruction number 7 says create a pie chart used to compare DVD sales in each of the 3 months. It says use an appropriate title, include a legend, and label the data as percentages. Okay, so let's take that step by step. The first thing that we have to do is we have to go through and select our August through October DVDs. Okay, so I'm selecting August through October, the DVD numbers. Are we successful with that? We have that highlighted. The next thing we're going to do after we have those numbers highlighted is I'm going to go under the Insert ribbon on the very top. And under the Insert ribbon, I have options here for charts. The type of chart that we need to do right now is a pie chart. And you will notice it says pie chart right here, and there's a drop-down menu for pie chart. And you have an option for a 2D pie chart, a pie of pie, a pie, bar of pie, and a 3D. We're going to stick with either the 2D pie chart or the 3D pie chart. I don't care, whichever one you like better. Now, when we look at this pie chart, we can see down below August is blue, September for me is orange, and October is gray. I think we have the same colors for you, right? Okay. But what we have on the top is where it says chart title. We don't want it to say chart title. So I'm going to double click on the word chart title, and then I'm going to delete that text, and I'm going to type in DVD sales. What you will find when you have your chart selected, you have a whole new ribbon up on the top. And it says Design, and then you have Format. Now the other thing that you can do is in your Design area, you can change colors. There are some pre-built schemes, and you can choose whatever one you would like. Mine is kind of blue shades, so I'm going to actually go with blue. But you can choose whatever color scheme you may like. Okay? After you have your color selected, our legend is already on there, but you do have different options of how this table can look by just going across on your chart styles. I pick the color, and then I have these chart styles. There are a few more of them. If you want to choose one of those styles, you may. I kind of like this gray shaded one. You don't have to use that one. And again, once the chart is selected, right here under your design tools, you have an option for a different style of chart. One of the reasons that I chose this one is part of our directions said I needed to have my percentages on there. And you will see the percentages are there. If yours doesn't have the percentages on, I'm going to show you how to get it on. So it's okay. If yours, the one that you picked, does not right now have percentages on, we're going to add on the left-hand side of your design ribbon, you're going to add data labels, and you have an option of none, center, inside edge, outside edge, best fit, or data callout. Okay? And that's going to put those percentages in there. I kind of like the inside edge look. So everyone does need to have their percentages on there. And again, I did that by going under the design ribbon, add chart elements, data labels, and you can pick which one of there, just not none. You can add whatever one you would like. The one that I like the look of is, again, the inside edge. You don't have to have the months with your data labels, because we have that included over here on what is called our legend. The legend is what gives you the shading for whichever month it is. Okay, I'm going to move my DVD sale chart kind of up here tight below F to L. That's about how big mine is. Now, if I click off of that chart, you will notice that my quick toolbar for doing my formatting of my chart is gone. It will only be there when my chart is selected. So we are going to repeat this, and we have to do exactly the same thing, except we have to do a pie chart for games. Now, here's the hard part. Before, when I went through and did my pie chart for DVDs, I highlighted August through October, and I did DVD. Now, I need to do the same thing, but I cannot include my DVD numbers. I need to include just my game numbers. So we have to go through, and we have to use our selective highlighting. So what I will do right now is I'm going to highlight with my mouse, just like I normally would, August to October. So please do that right now. Everyone highlight. Justine, make sure you're with me right now. Okay? Highlight August to October. Now, I need to get DVD games. If I highlight all the way down, I will include, I need to not have DVD games. I'm going to hold down the Control key with my left hand, and I'm going to highlight my numbers for the games. So I have to use my mouse and my Control key. And notice that I have August, September, and October highlighted, and then 6,000, 6,000, and 7,000 highlighted. Do that by using the Control key. Were we able to successfully select those? Now you can go in and insert your other chart. You cannot have DVD selected. Got that, Dale? You have DVD selected. Highlight August to September, October, and then Control and do the games numbers. Then you're going to go to Insert. You're going to insert another pie chart. What do we think the title of this one's going to be? Game sales, right? Sales report, which we opened up, which was pretty boring. We made it pretty with colors, changed our fonts, did some shading, did some borders. The next thing we did, we just rocked a couple cool pie charts. The last thing that we want to do, which is instruction number 9, is we need to create a column or a bar chart comparing the sales of DVDs to the sales of games and the total sales for all of the 3 months, and then for the 3-month total. So what does that mean? Okay, I'm going to unselect my game sales chart. I am going to highlight, one second. Product, all the way over to total. So I'm highlighting all of my numbers now, because we're going to make a bar or a column chart on this. So I have those numbers selected, and then I'm going to go to Insert, and I can either do a column chart where the numbers go up and down, or I could do a bar chart where they go horizontally. It doesn't matter whichever one you would like to do. You would either create one that would look like this, or you could choose one that would look like this. Whatever one you like better. My preference on this one is going to be this 2D column chart. I just like the look of that one. The other thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make my chart actually a little bit smaller to fit right below my information. So I have my DVD sale ones over here, and this one right here, I just drug in the corner just to make it fit in the appropriate spot. Because I don't want to keep going over to the right. I want this to be one nice layout of piece of information. The other thing that I can do with this chart is I can actually drag it down so it goes on the bottom. So now I kind of have a nice square with all of my information. So to just drag it down, all I did is go on the bottom and grab this one, and I can drag up to make it shorter. or I can drag down to make it a little bit taller. Now this chart, we want to go through and do the same thing. We need to change the title of it. We want to change the title from chart title to total sales. You can go through and change your colors using your same colors that you have been using. You also have an option for your chart styles if there are different styles that you like. I don't like the one that has the numbers on the top of it because I think it gets kind of hard to read. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the one that has the gray background and then go through and modify it. So I took my data labels out. And then I'm putting my vertical axis back in. So I could have the same ones. Because you need to have the numbers down the left-hand side, and you need to have the months on the bottom.